welcome to another episode of The Urban Gardener. And today we're going to just do what I've been planning to do for the last few weeks now, is to take just a quick garden tour of the gardens that we've got here at home and at the community gardens. Just kind of get a view of what's been going on for the last several weeks as we've been doing some other things. One of the things that I did want to talk about though too is kind of a story I had explained before in one of the other episodes about how I got started doing this urban garden alleyway project a few years back. I was living in the Seattle area and basically had lived in a bunch of apartments, so I've never had space to grow vegetables or anything like that, or really had the idea to do so at all. Basically came about from a friend who saw that I had a bunch of house plants and decided that he'd gift me a cucumber plant, and I repotted that cucumber, put it on my balcony, and grew my very first vegetables for myself on a balcony. And by that next spring though, I had moved down here to Southern Oregon and had a bit more space to grow, so I expanded into some tomatoes and a couple of other things and built a couple little boxes and got some of the buckets that I use in the garden as well. I had a few of those and was just trying to grow a couple of different things. But as you can tell right behind me, which my place is right here, right behind me across the alley from me, my neighbor, the gentleman here who lives just right through the gate here, grows an outdoor alley garden. Now that spring when I got here and I was growing my stuff, I had looked over and seen what he was doing in the alley and completely got inspired. And that's when everything started to happen. I started with the simple space where we got the corn and the onions right now that we'll see in just a few minutes, and then expanded from there to doing the back alleyway, you know, and expanding the tomatoes into the fence line and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of all of that inspiration came from a gentleman right here across my alleyway from me. And because of him, I believe ultimately I pushed me into expanding my garden knowledge, which then got me to YouTube and seeing a bunch of other garden channels and garden vloggers as well, putting on their gardens, and grew my inspiration and knowledge through a lot of that to where I am here today, you know, showing off my gardens to all of you. And I hope that you guys really enjoy the gardens that we have here. They're pretty inspired in some sort of sense, but maybe not quite where they should be or I want them to be yet. So that's going to be a part of the whole garden adventure and garden process that we're on here, is to be able to go through this garden experience and expand and see where we can go and what we can do with the spaces that we have. And for me, I guess I'm kind of lucky. I've got some pretty good alleyway space to be able to expand out on, and we'll definitely be doing a lot more of that coming up here in future episodes of The Urban Gardener. So let's get on with this garden tour. All right, so let's start with the neighbor's garden real quick. So he's got some gladioluses, it looks like, growing here. He's got himself a pepper plant and a cucumber, tomato. I think he's got here some tomatillos growing. Tomatillos. And then this here, which is some volunteers that he just let grow in a big bunch. And they're starting to, actually, let's get in there real quick. Let's take a look. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're starting to ripen up back there. Yep. So this is basically a bunch of volunteers that came up from what he was growing last year. Focus. And it's really going crazy. I mean, look at all of those flowers. There's already a ton of small cherry tomatoes in there already. You can kind of see down here, but it's just filled all the way through with a bunch of little ones. This guy's gonna have so many cherry tomatoes real soon. And looks like he's got himself a watermelon here. Don't know. I don't see any fruits quite yet forming. It's still vining out pretty good. And he's growing cucumber here. Now, similar to me being gifted a cucumber plant, as I explained before, I gifted my neighbor a cucumber plant a couple of seasons ago, and he continues to grow it here out of this container that he has, and grows exceptionally well. The first year I gave him cucumbers, I was growing them myself, and the same variety, same seed, everything. They just grew way better for him. Perfect sun location though, gets way more sun, faces the south sun. Perfect. So it really works well for his corn that he grows. Now this corn, which was the first thing I really noticed about how cool his alleyway garden was the corn that he grows, because this stuff is a Mexican kind of corn that literally grows as tall as the eave of his building there. Now over here we've got corn, and it's growing really well. Okay, this corn will get up there to the fence line, and then it'll start sending its tassels out from there. That's a pretty decent height. It's definitely a lot taller than I am, but it's not as tall as the corn that my neighbor will have growing here. That'll get way up past there, so that'll be something. All right, back over here again with the corn. In the video we did before previously, we planted out a bunch of onions, and as I had said then, that they're pretty resilient and they will grow, except for the red onions were just pretty devastated and dried out. I really did neglect them a little too bad, so those red onions are not going to be doing very well. Maybe one or two might come up, I'm not too sure, but the yellow Walla Walla sweet onions in the back, they're already looking and standing up pretty good on their own there, so they should be taking off and doing pretty well there. And let's take a look at something here that we haven't taken very much of a look at in our videos yet. I just want to show this because we got nice little flowers in there too. Yep, those are the peanut plants that we are growing in here. Yep, peanuts. We'll see if they actually work out. I've never grown peanuts before, or really seen them growing before, so this is a cool experiment in the urban garden that we'll get to see. And right next to it we've got a watermelon growing, and it's really starting now to put out some extra vines and whatnot, so be looking for this to really get going here real soon, put out a fruit probably soon. I do believe this is one of those orange tender sweets that I got from Baker Creek's Heirloom Seed Company. And the lambstail's doing really well. Or lamb's ear, I'm not sure exactly, one of those two. And we've got our black brandywine tomato in the front bucket there. We're gonna have to get in and do some pruning and some things like that. That'll be a project we're gonna work on here. In another video or two, we'll focus on our tomatoes a lot more. And in the back, as you can see, some of the black cherry tomatoes. Got fruits forming. So yeah, It should be ripening up here pretty soon. All right, and here's our vining pole beans that we got growing here, vining up. They're grabbing a hold of things and getting their way through there. Also having to fight them back from grabbing a hold of the tomatoes and the roses we've got here. So, got to watch out from those things and these vines. They like to grab and pull on other plants. So I just kind of unwrap them and get them moving in a different direction. Just kind of keep an eye on them that they don't pull things out too hard. Some nice roses growing there. In the background here, we've got our large black beauty zucchini. I was doing some research on these, and basically, from what I understand, they're also called marrows in the UK. Maybe somebody can comment down below and clarify that for me. Believe that when they're grown larger, they're a marrow. If they're, I would say maybe about this size, they're about a zucchini, and then when they're really, really small, they're courgettes. But really strange story I was reading about is that they also are toxic. These plants have a toxin in them. I'll put that on the screen here. And this toxin basically is in all plants of this type, like pumpkins, cucumbers, and whatnot. And at certain levels can be poisonous. Now, most cultivars of these plants are grown to have low level, but if people grow, from a story I read about, if you grow ornamental gourds or ornamentals in these types of plants, they can cross-pollinate with your edibles, and the toxin levels will rise in them and can then be poisonous to you. An article to a German couple who were older, I believe nearly 80 years old, and had been given a marrow from a neighbor and had eaten it. The wife didn't eat as much as the husband. She survived. He didn't. And toxicologists believed it was the toxins of the marrow zucchini plant. And we got one of these lettuces that we got from the Territorial Seed Company store earlier, in one of our earlier episodes. I've let it go to seed, so hopefully we'll be able to collect some seed from that and regrow some of those here in the next season. And next to our zucchini there we have a pepper plant. It's been kind of hiding back here in all of the vegetables and greens and everything that we had growing in this basically above ground raised bed container that we have back here. Most everything's been cleared out. Greens are pretty much done. Too hot for them. They've all bolted. So now the peppers are getting to take off. These are a couple of varieties that I didn't seed myself. I bought from a nursery. And what do we got? There are a couple of sweet pepper varieties, I believe. That's a purple beauty sweet and a sweet chocolate. So a couple of different types of dark bell pepper types. So let's see how those go there in the back. And right up in front of them, we have what I threw in here just to see what it would do. And the kohlrabi. And it's starting to really ball up. So now, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with some kohlrabi, because this is actually looking pretty good. behind the kohlrabies. And it's got a couple of stems coming out of there, heading over the railing. Same on this side. A couple of cucumber plants that have vined down in and joined up with more cucumber plants that we've got growing out of our buckets. And there's one back there. I'm gonna have to come and get out of there. Get that guy out here in a little bit. And right next to them, I'm growing some Swiss chard. I've been harvesting leaves off of here. Very colorful. More than the taste of Swiss chard, which is really great. Colors are awesome. Over here we got a mystery squash. I can't quite remember exactly which one it is, but it's taken off and vining out and going all over the place back there. So you can see we still got our radish seeds that we need to harvest up here as well. We'll do a video on that real soon here. I'm going to do a seed collecting video. Go around the garden and collect up some of these seeds. And right across the way, we've got another one of our cucumber varieties growing in here. It's really starting to vine out and take off with lots of flowers in there. Still not quite seeing any fruits yet. They'll all be coming real soon here. And the bite behind them, got in our raised bed container here some of those onions, more of the Walla Walla onions. Like I said, with the red onions, just didn't survive. But we do got some radish volunteers popping up here. So, bonus, got a little extra radishes. Here's our stevia plant, one of them here in the garden. And where we planted our beans, they're coming up real well. And as you can see there too, broccoli is starting to form heads again on the ones that we've been waiting on. You can see a small one inside there getting ready to come out. And pull that off, take that with my cucumber. So yeah, and getting these broccolis will probably be out of here real soon, and then those bean plants will take over this box. Look at that right there. We've got some nice pods forming on this pepper plant. This is an Italian orange pepper. It's got a nice long orange pods will form here. And it's just starting to put off lots of pods, just lots of them. So this should be really, really nice here real soon. And down here is another one of the stevia plants. Another one of our peppers. This one here, I believe, is the Sugar Rush Peach. And look at these pods forming on this. They're just starting to pop out everywhere. All the other pods kind of have a pointier shape at the bottom. That one's got a... That's pretty cool. This is our Dos des Landes long sweet pepper. This is a very prolific plant. I grew this last year and it just starts putting off pods like crazy once it gets going. tons more up here ready to come. And next to it are poblanos starting to put off some pods really well here as well. Next to it we've got it's going to be a large bell. These things will get much larger, start forming a lot more pods. You can see more in the background there. And right across the way, right up front, which I'm still not seeing any pods yet. That's the Carolina Reaper. World's hottest pepper. This one, I can't wait to see the pods when they start forming here. This one here is the Devil's Brain, which I can't wait to see what those pods actually look like. They sound really gnarly. So hopefully soon one of these flowers will produce us a pod. And we'll get to check that out. And these pepper plants are the ones that we have in the back patio area. They're doing really well. For what I believe, getting limited light, but it seems to be very sufficient for these plants. They're really starting to produce and look very nice. Alright, one of the things I did want to show real quick is purple potatoes. Still growing. Other potatoes have already died back, ready to be harvested, but purple potatoes still growing. So this next episode we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull these out. We're going to see and harvest what we've got and see how well our potatoes have done. Even our experiment potatoes, which are still growing pretty well as well in our bucket there. Pull them out and see what we get out of those too. So we'll check that out in the next episode. If everybody remembers, back in the beginning of the vlogs, one of the first episodes, I challenged myself to grow Brussels sprouts. And this from my own seed is what I've gotten. I'm actually kind of impressed. I think it could be better so far, and it's going to probably grow even more so. And the sprouts themselves are really just starting to form, but this plant is, as you can look at it, it's taken a beating, and it continues to as well. Continue to find worms to pull off of this, and just recently I'm now having to spray down and wash out aphids that have found their way in here as well. Right, especially into all this new growth and everything. And just spraying it down really well with water each night, trying to push back any of the populations right now. If it does get any worse, I will spray out some neem on this. I really want this plant to produce really nice. I think it's a heck of an accomplishment. And hopefully, those will taste good. Alright, and then we do have our strawberry bed here, which is still going. Still trying to produce us some more strawberry. I think it's really kind of cut back from the heat a little bit. As soon as it cools down a little bit more, this will probably go right back into production again. And then right next to it, where we were growing a bunch of greens, again, all seeded out. So we harvested them all up. Little broccolis, probably broccoli head getting ready to form up there as well. This one's not doing us too good. But we'll probably pull these out real soon and start to transfer this box over. Haven't quite figured out exactly what we're going to put in here next.
Hashtag the cat's life. What's going on, Buck?